Let's turn this baby up. Are you watching online, Jeremy?
Yeah, I've got it up here.
Are we about 30? You haven't seen the countdown yet, right? We're 30 seconds behind.
It's on the little fireworks thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just finished.
Okay.
Welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
I don't know. Are we ready for this?
I think we are.
We've got
Welcome.
Amy in the house, and we have a special guest with us tonight. I've been waiting to ask this question for the last couple of weeks. We've got Sergeant Dakota Myers. Is that Bristol Palin really? Is that baby yours? Oh, shnikey. Wait, sorry, I've got my notes here. It was wrong. Gosh.
Yeah, wrong warrior.
Thank you.
Well, I'm out of one of the probably 36, patriotic web links that I get every single day, like 300 in my inbox.
Yeah.
I'm reading the Freedom Outpost, and I'm seeing Marine Sergeant Jeremy Knauff to Islamic State. You will soon learn soon enough of the Brotherhood of Marines. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I know that guy. I know that warrior.
And for everybody in America, the word that she actually said Jeremy, but in Boston, it's a little. Just kidding. I always make fun of Amy. It's my only time in the week that I get to have fun.
That he gets to make fun of someone from the Northeast.
From Boston. So up on the screen, I've got a picture of Marine Sergeant Jeremy Knauff, who is with us from Florida right now. And how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing outstanding. How are you?
Hey, he knows who his parents are. You don't call him sir.
Whoa, wait a minute. Now
that's a military joke.
Now you're talking over my head.
He's not an officer. He's an NCO. Jeremy, sorry, inside joke. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's just a joke, Jim. Sorry.
Talking over my head.
Yeah,
well, that's not easy. That's not hard to do, because I have to admit that one time, Jeremy, are you kind of from the East Coast?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I've been over here most of my life.
The farthest east I've been. Well, I guess I did spend a little bit of time down in Prince Island, Georgia, or something Georgia. It's down by Jacksonville. Is there something called Prince George Island or something?
You got me on that one.
I was down in Georgia for a week.
Okay.
But other than that, I asked Amy a couple of months ago. We were talking about the Patriots, and I was wondering who the hell it owns, like what city, what state, where are the New England Patriots from? And she's like, well, from here, from Boston. I go, what do you mean Boston? New England Patriots. I said, aren't they from New England? She goes, well, yeah, New England's like an area. Like, what?
He's born and raised in the Seattle, Portland area. They're over there, so they're a different breed, Jeremy.
All right.
I didn't know. Who knew?
Yeah, Jim's a character, Jeremy. Well, I saw your posting on the Freedom Outpost, and it was on after that, it was like went viral, and everyone in the world was posting it and commenting on it. And you had a few things to say to ISIS and any type of radical, Muslim extremist who happens to be wanting to take pot shots at our military, and especially now with the deaths of the 4 Marines and 1 sailor. What did you? Besides the obvious, what was the like? I mean, you must have woke up that morning and just wanted to, punch a wall.
So you wrote that article. How did they grab it? Did you know somebody there, or like all of a sudden it just like boom, there it is, and they quoted you, and it was some good stuff? How did that happen?
Well, so I was dropping my son off at summer camp, and I'm on the way home, and I'm thinking about it, getting pissed off. It's just kind of, eating at me, and the ideas kind of started flowing. And so got back to work and just typed it out, threw it out there, and I saw a couple of shares here and there, and then the next thing you know, it just blew up ridiculously fast.
So you're saying you posted that on Facebook first, and then somebody grabbed it?
Yeah. It was on. It was. I shared it on my profile, and then it started getting shared from various other Marines that I served with, and shared throughout various Marine groups and pages on Facebook. And then at that point, it just kind of it went far faster and far wider than I ever thought. So.
Well, that shows you how passionate people are, yeah, because this one was posted on July 18th when I first popped that open. And I have to tell you, I'm going to quote you here, Jeremy, because this was absolutely, I swear to God, I was like, oh my God, I just love my warriors. I have a huge warrior network, and I absolutely love you guys. To quote you, you said, "You see, we won't play by the rules you're accustomed to seeing. When you play in our backyard, we don't have to answer to any chain of command. We will not follow ridiculous rules of engagement crafted by spineless bureaucrats to appease some goat-herding tribal leader. And we won't be wearing uniforms so that you can easily ambush. Nope, none of that shit." I was like, oh my God, I just love you guys. Just absolutely to the point, beautiful. I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, I got to ask him to come on and talk with us. Because you're right. I mean, I've been saying I'm sure that you've seen my rantings, but, the upper echelon and the Pentagon and all this stuff over the course of the last 6.5 years has just been an abomination to any veteran, any active duty, reservist, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. Scroll back to the Carter years, and was it a year? I'm sorry, for Jim. It's not a year, it's a year.
So Jeremy, your comment on that was, okay, we get that on what you're saying, like, hey, you're coming to our backyard. We're not over there having to play by the, what is it, ROEs, like the rules of engagement.
Yeah.
Right.
But our current active military's hands are still tied, correct? No matter where they're at?
So. In fact, the rules of engagement have been significantly tightened. During the beginning of the war, they were pretty reasonable. Towards the end, once the Obama administration took over, they started to get tighter and tighter and tighter. And if you look at the casualty rate from the beginning up until now, the numbers changed quite a bit, but the last I checked, it was somewhere up in the high 70% of deaths during the war were under Obama's term.
Yeah.
Huh.
Absolutely.
And that was after supposedly the fighting was done.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's because of the rules of engagement basically tied our troops' hands and left them helpless.
Which happens every time we get a Democrat in office. Let's be honest about that. It's like,
absolutely.
But this went on back even during. I mean, these are some of the same complaints though that happened during the Vietnam War. I mean, it was always like a political. Everything turns into politics, takes over.
Johnson, Democrat. Johnson, Democrat.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and part of the problem is they don't use our troops the way that they're supposed to be used. We're not over there to build schools and make friends. If we need to go somewhere, we should be sent there, kill all the people responsible, and then go home.
Yeah.
Let them clean up their own mess.
Yeah.
Well, look at this. They sent the Marine. They sent the. Who did they send the Marines or the Army over to the Ebola zone to jump in there and build schools or something during the middle of the Ebola outbreak?
I don't remember who it was. And I think it was it Rangers?
National Guard or was it Rangers?
I don't know if it was Rangers or one of the. I'm not real familiar with all the Army units, but it was like one of the 101st or something. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was the 101st. You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
I mean, I'm just blown away every time I see what they call our military to go do. And like you said, I've always heard the military's job is to go in and break things and kill. I mean, it's like, and then come home. You just take it apart. And I think everybody would have been pretty satisfied and happy had we gone into Afghanistan, blew the shit up for about 2-3 weeks, and come home.
Absolutely.
And then that's it.
By January of 2009, the Taliban were on the run. We had the war won. We had beaten them. And then all of a sudden, Obama gets sworn in, and the wheels stop, everything stops, rules of engagement change, and then I'm hearing from all my, friends who are over there that forget about it. It's like cockroaches. You can't leave any alive, because if you do, they're going to multiply, and that's exactly what they did. So they're back now. They're back, as strong as ever. It's ridiculous.
Well, and it's worse than that, because they're also branching out and creating these new offshoot groups.
ISIS is there now in Afghanistan, obviously in Iraq. I mean, just what you guys went over there and did in Iraq. I mean, how?
Give us some background on your service.
I was out long before Iraq. I actually got out in '99.
Yeah.
When
I say you guys, I'm talking about our military.
Gotcha.
Our warriors.
Okay, so what's the question specifically then?
Well, give us some background on your military history and what you're all of, like who you are with all of it and.
Me personally?
Yeah, just a little background on your service.
Sure. I was in the infantry, deployed. We went out to Okinawa for a while. We did a med float. Spent some time in Bosnia and pretty much every little country you can think of around that area. And I got out in '99. That's it in a nutshell.
Bosnia in itself was a total shitstorm.
It varied. There wasn't really a lot going on when we were over there. It was pretty calm.
Now, were you over there when Clinton was in office, or no? I forget the dates and stuff.
Yeah, I served under Clinton, unfortunately.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So,
yeah.
Did you guys feel exactly like all of us were talking over here about every time something would happen that he would potentially going to be on the front page, like with Lewinsky or getting called to Congress or anything like that, all of a sudden we started bombing, and then that took the headlines? Did you guys feel like he was calling you guys to bomb and do stuff just to keep him off the front page?
I don't think that really ever occurred to us, because the types of things that I recall him doing when those type of situations would come up, for example, there was I don't remember what the attack was, but there was some kind of attack where then he retaliated by launching 21 Tomahawk missiles into somewhere. I don't remember where it was.
It wasn't the aspirin factory in Syria.
Yeah. It was a pharmaceutical plant of some sort.
Yeah.
That they claimed was a chemical weapons lab. So things like that would typically be handled by air units. So it wasn't really something we were involved with. I can tell you that nobody had any respect for him. Definitely didn't think that he gave a damn about the troops either. In fact, I won't mention any names, but we did have somebody who came to our unit who worked directly with him, and did not have anything good to say about him. And he knew far more than any of us did about him on a personal basis.
Huh.
And I'm sure that extends to Hillary too.
From what I've heard, she's a lot worse.
Yeah, and she's just. Although I would prefer to have her as the Democrat nominee instead of who my fear is Elizabeth Warren, but
You really think she's going to step in?
I really think she's going to step in, and she is.
She's personable, and I think she could win people over.
She can win. I mean, she has like 1.9 million likes or something on Facebook, some ridiculous amount of likes. She's very, very personal, and she takes on the big banks and all this kind of stuff. And people, oh, we just love that. She's taking on big business and big government, yet she fails to divulge that she's a multimillionaire and that she, does one class for like $500,000 a year, and that she made her money. Her and her husband made money off of Wall Street, took advantage of it. When now that she's rich, now she wants to, be the good little socialist and take it away from everyone else.
The thing that I like about her, and she has going for her, though, is that, I mean, she is an American Indian, and I appreciate that. Wait, why are you laughing? Isn't she? What?
Yeah, okay. I want to see that lineage. I know I have my lineage that shows that I am the ancestor of a American Indian warrior, but I don't think she ever produced one.
No.
But
is Knauff is German, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling Amy one time, because Koffer is German too, and my great grandfather or great grandfather was over in the concentration camps, and he actually died over there. And they never have figured out how he fell off the guard tower, but we're trying to
see what I mean, Jeremy. He's a character. This guy's a character. Now,
I'm teasing.
Getting back to the article that you wrote, there was another beautiful, in case people hadn't yet read it, we'll post it. Jim has posted the article a couple times, so it'll be on the blast. And you had said when you think you're walking into a target-rich environment, you're really walking into an ambush. That pudgy middle-aged guy wearing khakis in the mall, who, unbeknownst to you, is formerly 0311 and armed, will dump your sorry ass before you have a chance to scream, a la Snackbar. I love that.
That was awesome.
And that soccer mom pushing a stroller, she's got a Glock and will happily leave you gasping in a pool of your own blood before she lets you hurt her children. I mean, this is so true. I mean, that's what other countries don't understand about America and how passionate we are about our freedom. They don't know, so they have no clue. They think we're just all walking around as, gun-toting John Waynes, just blowing people away, and it's like so far from the truth. It's not even funny, but we're out there, we are there, and go ahead.
And the motivation behind it is very different over here than it is in other countries. A lot of people here, probably far more than your average person realizes, are armed. Yeah. But our violent crime rate is far lower than pretty much anywhere else that people would generally consider civilized. You look at the UK. They've got, I think it was like 4 times the crime rate that we have.
And they only look at gun violence. Well, look at everything else.
Exactly. And the other thing is that we're accustomed to doing what we need to do to take care of ourselves and take care of each other, and they pretty much just rely on the government. And that thought process, that mentality, is something that they can't relate to.
Yeah, because I was watching a film, and it's like there's so much like accepted violence that they don't even report. It's almost like they become so accepting of certain types of violence that it's not even reported, and like assaults and things like that. And I'm like, so how do you like? I have so many people say, oh, you have the most gun violence. You have the most incarcerated people. Well, if you're not considering something a crime, and you're not incarcerating them for the crime, then yeah, we're going to have more. I just...
Right. Well, our incarceration rate it's either the highest or the second highest in the world. And in my opinion, that's due to the drug war, which I don't really agree with.
Mm-hmm.
You're more of a libertarian, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have way too many people. I think they should decriminalize pot, but make, I just don't think everyone should. I personally don't think it's a good idea for everyone to be smoking pot. We're already a society of slouches. We don't need any more laying on the couch getting fat and, you know,
So
what do you
wait,
call
wait,
it?
wait, Amy.
Demotivated.
No. Amy, did you say they should decriminalize pot or
Yeah.
no?
I've always said they should decriminalize pot. I just don't want to make it legal. I don't want, you know, decriminalizing just means you're not going to go to jail for it. You will get fined
So
if you
you're
have
saying
it.
like a fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
What about you, Jeremy?
Honestly, I think that even if it was legal, you might see a short-term spike in use, but I think it's going to go back down once that new factor wears off of it.
The newness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the most part, the people who are going to do it are going to do it anyway, and the people who aren't going to do it, they're not going to do it just because it's legalized. But you think of the ridiculous amounts of money that we're spending on the drug war, and we could actually use those cops to go because they've got these quotas that they have to fill, and then they buy these new shiny toys that they have to go and play with, and they have to justify using them, which means they're kicking in somebody's door for a parking ticket.
Yeah.
I'd much rather see those cops out there going after real criminals, people who are hurting people. And then I think that if that happened, you'd probably see a shift in how police are perceived. A lot of people really don't like the cops.
Jim's one of them. Jim and I all go back and forth on this.
Well, I have a specific reason why, though, and that's because every single cop is bad and dirty.
I've gone back and forth on that particular detail. I don't know. I grew up with the idea that all cops are good and there may be a couple of bad apples.
I used to think that.
Yeah, and then I started to realize that that's not really so true.
Thank you.
People would say, oh, well, if you don't break the law, you're not going to have problems. But, you can spend 10 minutes on YouTube and find out that that's not actually true. So, I don't know. I think in my opinion, that comes down to it's not that cops are inherently bad. I think we've allowed society to become broken. And those people who are in that broken society, obviously, are people who are if they're going into law enforcement, then of course cops are going to be broken, right? So it's just like anything else. The consequences, however, of bad people in law enforcement are a lot more significant than the consequences of a bad person in the dairy section of Winn-Dixie.
Well, it's one of my points to Jim is because I will give the example, James.
Go ahead.
That I said, most people, I said for the most part, most people, if you're not doing anything wrong, aren't ever going to get stopped by a cop. I mean, most people just aren't. I got stopped once for passing on the right. Ridiculous, but I was still wrong. Jim was going by a cop, and he reaches over, and it looks like he's buckling up a seatbelt. So the cop stops him, and the cop said, well, you didn't have your seatbelt on, so I'm going to give you a fine. And Jim was like, he said, I did have my seatbelt on. What he didn't tell the cop was that he had the laptop balanced on his lap, and he's doing on the steering wheel. Okay, so you're still breaking the law. Okay, so if we want to just change the laws, if we have to get the laws changed, and then we don't have to worry about the cop stopping us for stupid crap, because some of these things are ridiculous. But just like with the military, some things are stupid, but you're not going to just say, okay, well, I don't agree with that. I'm a cop, or I'm a veteran, military member, and I'm just not going to do it because I don't agree with it. You can't do that.
But do you know specifically why? I think you do. Why I believe that there are no such things as a good cop.
I believe I can answer that.
Go ahead.
If they're willing to enforce unjust laws, then they cannot be a good cop.
I had not thought about that, but I like that.
Great, Jeremy. You just gave him more fodder.
Yeah.
I thought you were my friend, Jeremy.
I'm kidding. Cha-ching. I like that. That just solidified my point double. Okay, so the reason why I believe there isn't one good, honest cop in America is because if there's a bad cop or a couple of bad cops and the, quote, good cops don't say anything and don't shut them down and get them turned over and turned out and get them out of the force, whatever, turn on them, It's that thin blue line, and you are just as guilty as they are.
I-
Even more so because you took an oath. I didn't, they did.
Right. I do agree with that, and I'll also play the devil's advocate on that position, though. And this was something that one of my friends who's a cop mentioned to me when I discussed that same issue with him. And basically, he's out in the middle of the night on a call and needs backup. He wants to know that that other guy that he turned in for doing something wrong is going to show up and not just wait for him to get shot. And while it's not a good answer, unfortunately, it's the real world, and that's the answer that he has. I don't agree with the answer, but I can understand it from a logical perspective.
Well, you would hope that if they did turn him in, I just refuse to believe that every single police department has someone crooked on it that nobody's turned in. I mean, you have Serpico. I mean, I don't, like he ruined his whole career and almost got killed by the fellow officers, fellow detectives because he was turning them in. If you ever watch or read that whole story, so I can't believe that that's the only instance ever that cops turned in bad cops. I mean, there are other instances that.
No, they do. They definitely sometimes, but not anywhere near as often as it should, I think.
No, but I mean that holds true in the military too. I mean, it's like it's a fine line. It's like these people have to, like you said, have to have your back. You have to know that they have your back when the shit hits the fan. And if they can't trust you and you can't trust them, you're really not effective at all. So
I agree, and I mean I think it's to some degree human nature. I mean, I can tell you things happened in the military that shouldn't have happened, and people covered them up. Not anything like super serious, just minor things that while technically were wrong and technically illegal, they got swept under the rug for the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at any group in society, if somebody does something and they're within your group, I don't care what that is, whether it's employees that you work together with, or you look at a group of I don't know, musicians, or whatever it is, whatever subset group that you identify with, they're going to look at things that other people in that group do with a lot more leniency than they will people outside that group.
Yeah.
And I think that's human nature, and that's going to be true whether you're a cop or whether you're a guy bagging groceries or you're I don't know, digging ditches on the road. Whatever it is you do, you're going to identify with those people, and that's part of the problem with society. You see these people that think nobody can judge me if they're not part of XYZ group.
Yeah, right. That's it.
Well,
I love it when people tell me that I can't really speak about military stuff or I can't have a view or an opinion because I've never served. I'm like, yeah, okay. That's not working for me. I mean?
Right.
I've been around, I have a big military family, been around it enough, talked to enough of you guys, have, military history background as far as college and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's not working for me just because I didn't serve. That doesn't make me any lesser a person or any lesser a warrior than others, But, I have one instance, I just want to say this, and I'm not going to go off on a whole homosexual rant or anything like that. It's just, it kind of plays into what you just talked about. There was a lieutenant who got a promotion, and it was all over Facebook, and everyone was saying, "Oh, you're so great, and you're so congratulations, and this, that, and the other thing." And she just recently came out as being a lesbian.
Okay.
And my point to her was like, "That's great. That doesn't take away from your achievement. However, you lied. You lied on your application." And if you had told the truth, you would never have gotten this far. So whether you like it or you don't like it, that's the truth. You know what I mean? It's like...
It depends, though, on when she went in, because for a long time it was don't ask, don't tell. So maybe she didn't actually lie.
Yeah, because it's don't ask, don't tell while you're in. But if it's on your application, are you...
Well, I don't know.
You have to put yes or no.
I don't remember if it had that at that time. I mean, God, I'm feeling kind of old now. That was quite a while ago. But I don't recall seeing
Because
that.
it was signed in while you were in. It wouldn't have been on there.
Was it? What year did it get signed in?
Let's see.
Clinton did it, so it had to
Clinton did
be.
it.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have, you were in when Clinton was in.
Yeah.
So he signed it into law, so you would have already been in, so you wouldn't have seen it. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Yeah, I think you're right.
So I can look it up real quick.
Well, but I don't know if the question has ever been on the military entrance form, are you homosexual?
According to someone
So-
very close to me, it is.
I remember the recruiters asking that, and of course, it's a tongue-in-cheek question because, of course, they know that, most
Everyone's
people
gonna
are
say no.
not.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they're going to say no at that point. Now
Right.
it's free to say yes, but at that point.
It's kind of like the "Did you ever use drugs?" question. Of
Yeah.
course not. No, nobody did drugs.
No, of course not.
So, I come from a state where marijuana was just voted in as being legal. You can smoke it out in public. You can do all that stuff. You just can't buy it here just yet. But in Washington, 5 minutes from my, across the bridge from my house, you can go and buy it anywhere.
Okay.
So it's all legal.
February 1994.
Okay. All right. So
Okay. So you're already in at that point?
I was in it. I went in '95.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say that probably speaks a lot to her. I would call it an integrity violation. I mean, if she lied, then she lied, and that, regardless of whether you think it's right or not, that's, if that's the rules and you lied to get there, then
That was my
something.
point. It's like, that's great. It's awesome. That's a great like she's not a person. She's not a friend of mine on the. It's just like one of the forum ones. And I just said, Stanley McChrystal tells the truth, and he gets booted. She lies, and she gets promoted. I'm like, something's wrong with this picture. Something's wrong with this military at this point. As far as the, the political correctness.
Right.
Speaking
Well,
of,
speaking of politically correctness, are you aware of the? I believe it was a Marine officer. She was trying to hold the female Marines to the same standards as the male.
yeah.
Yes.
And she got booted.
Just a couple weeks ago. But I read some of that. I read different parts or different stories. She was pretty tough. Now, they're supposed to be, though, I guess. But
Yeah, that's kind of who I want forming and molding our young Marines. Not somebody who's going to be watching TV and sitting around on the couch all day.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I saw her at one point. I guess before she took over, it was only like a 30% success rate as far as the firing range and accuracy and everything. And then when she finally, whipped everyone into shape, they were up to like 90%. She wanted them to be like the men. But one of the things that my guy was saying was that the big no-no with her was the fact that when women would say that they were assaulted, she would just say, well, it's your own fault. You went out and got drunk. And she wouldn't bring it forward. And she wouldn't. So that's an issue, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I can agree. That's a major issue. If you can't trust your officer at that point to bring forward something like rape or, molestation or whatever, harassment,
Yeah, that's a deal breaker.
that's a deal breaker. So I think that was more the issue, more so than she was a tough chick who could whip people into shape.
Gotcha.
So that's what I'm hearing. I obviously none of us know the full story. She's claiming that that's not true, and but the people who worked under her said that is.
Well,
what's
you don't
going
get to
on.
her position being a weak person. I mean, she had to fight to get to that position to begin with, so she's going to be a tough person.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you still can't. If one of your Marines gets raped, you can't say to them, well,
No.
you went out and got drunk, so you deserved it, so I'm not going to bring it forward, or at least have it investigated. You can't do that, and that's just.
As a
That's
human,
Imagine
failure
if you
of
were doing that.
leadership.
you have to
Yeah.
have empathy as a human being still.
And you have
Yes.
to have the integrity to bring it forward. I mean, regardless of who it was who was doing the raping. I mean, that's your job as a leader, is to, you know, protect the people who are under you.
Agreed. If that story is true, then that's no better than the thin blue line thing that we were just talking about a minute ago.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So,
And one of the reasons, I'm just going to say this briefly, and then we'll move away from the police thing. But my sister-in-law of 28 years was murdered and shot in the back of the head by a sheriff 4 years ago, who had been well documented and well known to have problems, anger issues, plus, I mean, you name it. And the union continued to protect him until one night he decided he was continued to be jealous about his wife's even hanging out with her friends, and decided that he couldn't take it anymore, went into this restaurant, pulled his wife out, shot her twice in the face, went in, shot my sister-in-law in the back of the head, shot her friend in the face, and then leaned over his wife and killed himself. So, and then the first investigator on the scene was a sergeant from our town where we live, happened to be this guy's best friend. And they made an announcement on the news, the shooter's still on the loose. So number one, the union protected this guy for years. Number two, his superiors and everybody protected him, and they even gave him advancements to the point where, you know, this finally happened. And then once they know that this guy is laying over his wife with a bullet hole through his mouth, through the back of the head, and sees all of her friends there, his best friend knew what happened. Then they come out in the news and say the shooter's still on the loose because they were trying to buy time as to what the hell are we going to say, what story are we going to tell. That's the day 4 years ago that I stopped believing that there was any good cops. So I mean, that's my own personal reason.
I can't say that would not have a similar effect on me, but I can say that I have met and I know some cops, and I know they are good, but I still can't disagree with your thing about them covering up for each other as well. So,
I mean, I know that I'm not saying there's not good people. They're all, right. Most of them are probably good people, but as a law enforcement officer who's taken an oath, they're letting down, they're not being honest, and they're not fulfilling their oath, something none of us have taken. You have in the military, but when you're out on the job, your regular job, you don't take an oath to uphold and serve blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, it is what it is, and so that's why.
Right. I can understand that.
And on the flip side, my brother-in-law is a police officer, and I know that.
Yeah, and he's probably a really good person.
He's a really good cop, and he's a really good person.
Yeah, and my grandfather was a sheriff. So, I mean, I have to, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be bad apples no matter what. Speaking of bad apples, what is up with, I'm going to go back, going to pull it back to the original topic. Jeremy, as a Marine, because there's no such thing as former Marines, as a Marine, how do you feel about the absolutely ridiculous idea of having our recruiters in civilian clothes, and now they're saying, no, don't have any weapons, just close your blinds?
I don't know too many who are going to follow that advice.
Close your blinds.
I'm half tempted to go pick up a uniform myself. I don't think they're going to do that. They're not the kind of people who are going to sit down and hide. That's just not who we are. I'm disappointed in, and I'll use little air quotes here, the leadership. Mm-hmm. Hiding, aside from it not being what any of those Marines are going to do, it sends the wrong message. It tells the terrorists that we think they've won, and they certainly have not. They haven't even scratched the surface. So I think it was horrible from a morale standpoint. It was horrible from a public perception standpoint. It was horrible from a strategic standpoint. It was wrong on every level.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking is like, I mean, people, I find it completely honorable, and I like I said, I love my warriors because I got some messages from people saying, you know what, I did exactly what that guy on the news did. That guy, you know, who went out with an AR-15 and was standing outside his recruiting station, and he's, you know, everyone's, you know, saying, bringing him cookies and baking for him and saying thank you, and now there's more and more stories where people are doing that, but now some people are being threatened by the police that they're, you know, they can't just stand there with a loaded weapon, so whatever, then carry conceal, you know.
Right.
But
what kind of world do we live in where the military is told to hide in the corner and the police are told to protect them? That's I don't even have words for that.
and then have civilians out
Or
front
civilians
with the
out
weapons,
protecting
you
them.
know. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. I mean, talk about a morale killer. I'm like, these are Marines.
Can
you know,
I?
I mean, my guy's a Ranger, so you know the good-natured, you know, Marines suck, Rangers suck. You know, everyone, you know, the whole good-natured, you know, pretend hate of all the branches and all the, you know, special, because you're really considered special ops. The Marine Corps, you're your own. Someone said a quote. They're not called. I'm not a Navy man. I'm not an Army man. But I'm, you know, you can say I'm a Marine.
Right.
So I'm sitting there saying to myself, as a Marine, whether or not someone's a combat Marine or not, or any of the branches, are you kidding me? They're in there being told to cower, and you know, just civilians are out front with the weapons. And
Can I read you real briefly what Marcus Luttrell said about that? He did you hear what he said?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, have you, Amy? He says, Marcus Luttrell, 11 hours, this 2 days ago, just heard something about telling Marines not to wear their uniforms at recruiting centers for their own safety, question mark, explanation. I have to tell y'all, I laughed out loud. If anyone thinks for 1 second a Marine is going to take his uniform off because he cares about his safety or is scared of some shitbag walking in off the street and trying this again, wrong. That's not going to happen. That's not how we respond in the military when we get hit. We don't take off our uniforms, drop our weapons, and run. And then he says some other stuff. And then at the bottom of it, he says, one more thing. Lower the flag, sir. Tax frog.
yeah, that just happened. What was it this morning or late yesterday?
Yesterday, because he was shamed into doing it because Congress did it and everybody was yelling at him. Frickin'
5 days later, I think it was.
Yeah, what an abomination! But that White House certainly was in rainbow colors the very night of
10 seconds.
Yeah, hours later.
The very night that you know, that legislation went through. You got to be kidding me. You know what I'm saying? There is a movement on for everyone. I think it's on July 29th. I'll post it on the blast. July 29th. Everyone, civilian or otherwise, trying to lower your flag to half-mast, just as a show to kind of. I guess he wants he's a military guy and he's doing this. You know, he wants everyone to lower it.
Trying to get the whole country.
To shame the White House. Yeah, to shame the White House. And they finally lowered it themselves, but really...
He has no shame.
Yeah.
Obama just has no...
I mean, it's purely the lowering of the flag was purely done for political pressure, not because he's actually... Well, he's a puppet anyways. You guys know how I feel about him. He's a puppet on a string. He's not even pulling the... He has absolutely no... He has no regard for our military in any way, shape, or form.
What would you like to do to him, Amy?
Punch him.
Thank you. That's what I was getting at. I was just going to say, Jeremy, back when she was saying, oh, you know, just because I don't have military, I've not been in the military, blah, 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 doesn't mean I'm not a warrior. Well, her absolute favorite thing to say, especially on Facebook, I'd like to throat punch you.
Have you ever had the opportunity to actually throat punch somebody?
No.
Oh.
I learned with the knuckle punch to the soft spot in self-defense training.
Okay. It's very rewarding, I can tell you that much.
Oh, great! Now you're gonna make I'm like, yeah, baby. Now I
They
want to
can't
do
breathe.
it. Yeah. So
The
I did
eyeballs pop out.
practice. I did practice in self-defense training, but I didn't actually. I've never actually had to do it.
It's kind of like punching a bowl of Jello, and then the reaction looks like something out of a cartoon. It's beautiful.
It's just like
Bulging eyes.
Rodney Dangerfield eyes pop out and they can't
There you
breathe.
go.
Well, I'm going to think of you one day if I ever have to do it. I'll tell you that much.
All right.
But you're right. As far as the, in the article when you're talking about, nobody has any idea, who walking around every day has a carry concealed permit. Nobody knows. And we joke about Texas, everyone has one. But you know what? I'm in Massachusetts, and a lot of people have them. And we're one of the toughest states to get any kind of carry concealed. So and we got that mega mosque. I got a mega mosque. I think it's the largest in New England, right, probably 3 miles away from me. I'm like, well, good. And they're all in there, complete. The beards down to their navel, and the hole in the job setup, just the eyeballs showing. So, and in my, I don't care what anyone thinks about my statement, but in my opinion, when you see both those two things together, it's radical Islam, plain and simple. Period. Not just talking about the headscarf. I'm talking about the full niqab. They
got the full thing going on in your state?
Full. Just the eyeballs showing the full black niqab.
I'm sorry to say this out loud, but man, that's sexy. I'm just kidding.
Sexy.
You see their eyes and that makeup, the eyes, and you're like, wow, I bet she's cute. And then there was this guy who allegedly, after he got married, when he only saw the eyes and they couldn't see anything else, he divorced her like 10 minutes after getting married.
Yeah, that's when he saw her face.
They pull that off and it looks like Mr. Bean under there.
Yeah. Yeah, but at first it's like, wow, she's hot, man. Isn't that amazing?
She's got a great voice.
How hot you can think somebody is from just their eyes, and they're like, she didn't have any teeth.
Yeah, she looks like Bugs Bunny or something. I know. Yeah, I just, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, when you have those two things together, the very long beard and the full niqab.
Well, I think if a chick has a long beard, that's probably not very attractive.
Yeah, I was going to say sexy. I'm not sure about sexy, but that's the same mosque where they did arrest and convict the imam. So there you go. He's teaching. He had a whole plot to bomb the local hospitals, malls, movie theaters.
Jeremy, there's
affiliated with the mosque in Boston where the Boston bombers are. Yeah, that whole.
True. Okay. But as crazy as your place is there, Amy, with you got the Boston bombers and the mosque and all that stuff. Jeremy, you do know that, I don't know if it's all over the country, but at least in our side, usually when we can go every single day and post a different story and go, meanwhile in Florida.
Well, there was actually, I don't know if you remember a radio program back in the day. What the hell was it called? Loveline with
Dr. Drew.
Yeah, and Adam Carolla.
Adam Carolla, yeah.
Do you remember the Florida or Germany game?
No.
Okay, so they would have this ridiculous, outrageous story, and the caller would have to guess whether it happened in Florida or Germany, because
that's hilarious.
Same kind of stuff in each place. So yeah, Florida and Germany.
Yeah, well, you see a story where some guy literally goes and he starts eating someone's face, and you're like, okay, that's Florida.
High on bath salts, yeah. That's scary
there was
stuff.
a guy who got caught having sex with an alligator.
Yes. I just read that, and I'm like, oh my god, that poor alligator was tied up. God, I never thought I'd feel bad for an alligator.
What the hell? I mean, when would it even cross your mind that, you know what, I think I'm going to move away from my hand now and go on to alligators? I mean, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I have no words for that one.
God.
He's gonna be on Fox and CNN, Jim. He can't really talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Hey, which
So
makes me hey, we scooped them. We scooped them, Jeremy.
There you go.
can we actually? So we can actually mention that you're heading towards CNN and Fox soon, right?
I think so. I mean, well, CNN called me on, let's see, it was Tuesday, and it got bumped for some other story. So I imagine it's going to come back up at some point. But if not CNN, I'm 99% sure it's going to end up on Fox.
On Fox, yeah.
I'm honestly surprised that the Blaze hadn't picked it up yet. But
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll end up quite a few other places still.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be some? Oh, dude. Oh, wait. Never mind. You're married. Ah. Well, so am I. I mean, I've been. Okay, I'm just going to be honest. Oh, dear Jesus. Please don't let her.
We're doing Megyn Kelly.
Please don't let her be listening. Please, Jesus. All right, because I can't help myself. I'm going to say it anyways.
Okay.
Dana Lausch. If you can get on the Dana Lausch show on the Blaze, oh my God, that's my goal. See, Amy thinks
you're in love with Megyn Kelly.
I know Amy thinks I'm in love with Megyn Kelly, and I am, but kinda, but Dana Lausch. Hands in the air, call foul on me right now.
Because she's a brassy broad.
I've been married for 33 years, and I would
To
never.
a hot blonde.
Yeah, she's, if she's, I meant, if she's listening, she's my love of my life. But my next wife is going to be like Dana Lausch. I'm just kidding.
In the event of a horrific plane crash, of course.
Yeah.
Right?
And she doesn't fly.
Now, what you guys didn't see, was when you guys were talking, she came in. Oh, you can't even see that. Well, you might be able to see that in about 30 seconds, Jeremy. If you watch it. You can.
I'm seeing it in real time.
Yeah, okay. So she came in and gave me a latte from the Blast, and always during the show she'll come in and like make me a latte. We used to have a joke where I would run a scroll across the screen, and I would say, "Boy, I'd sure love a latte about right now." And so then she was actually on the phone, and I couldn't tell her ahead. So I always set it up ahead of time. Hey, Lisa, about halfway through, make me a latte and just bring it in. And so I knew when she was making it, I could hear it. And so I'd start putting the scroll across the screen to make it look like it. Well, she was busy. Yeah?
Go ahead.
So one of our guys on the show was in Canada. And he was friends with my oldest daughter who lives in Hawaii. So I told my buddy from Canada, I said, hey, I'm going to order a latte to you in Canada. You get a hold of my daughter in Hawaii through Facebook and have her text Mom in the next room and bring me in a latte. So we had an international drive-through. It worked perfect.
Nice.
Jim, do you want to read Anna's question? Because Anna had that question for Jeremy.
If you have it up, go ahead and read it. Do you have it up?
One of our co-hosts who she's on every once in a while when she can make it. It's kind of a hectic life, and she sometimes can make it on. She was going to try and make it on tonight. She had said, I don't know if you saw that. Did you see it, Jeremy, in the thread?
Yeah, I did see that.
Okay, so I'll just read the question. Is that something you feel comfortable answering?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Anna Marie had said, what is Major Abrams trying to accomplish with these statements he's making today about the attacks in Chattanooga? And this was she posted this on the July 20th. The Marines were far from helpless. They acted very quickly. They hunkered down and protected one another, said Abrams, command of the artillery unit, Mike Battery of the 3rd Battalion. So I understand they no doubt would have acted to save and do whatever they could, but far from helpless. They were getting killed until a cop showed up with a gun. Had they been armed, 5 could still be alive. So she's asking, like, what is he trying to, what exactly is he trying to accomplish with a statement like that, saying that they just hunkered down and protected one another. They didn't have a weapon. Although it did come out that one of them did have a weapon, and they don't know.
2 weapons, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it 2? Okay. And they were saying, okay, that could be an issue because they're not supposed to have any weapons. Well, hello. It blows my mind.
I think he was just trying to save face. Kind of play the PR game. I don't see anything else that would accomplish.
Yeah, I just think the comments have been ludicrous from across the board. You know,
There was another Army, I don't remember if he was a general or what exactly his rank was. I heard this one a couple days ago, where he was saying that, he doesn't think arming the troops is the right answer because, some of them only see a weapon in boot camp and then they never see it again, which is not accurate. I mean, I know in the Marine Corps, we qualify every year.
Yeah.
I know, well, actually, come to think of it, in the Army, they qualify every year. Granted, they don't use their weapon anywhere near as much as we do, unless they happen to be infantry guys.
Mm-hmm.
But even the Army, I don't know how the Air Force or what the Navy does it, but I know that both the Army and the Marine Corps are at a bare minimum, even non-infantry units, bare minimum, they're qualifying at least once a year for the rifle.
And no one wants a pizza box.
No, they do not. And then you look at NCO. Typically sergeant and above, corporal in a lot of cases, but sergeant and above, they're qualifying with the pistol as well. So I just think they're trying to save face. It's a PR spin, and then you can take it another level up. We've got all this NSA spying. Why the hell didn't they catch us before it happened?
Yeah, well, and now it's coming out that he did have, like, his uncle was detained the same day. Or where was it, Jordan or something?
Yeah.
And he's still being detained. Like, okay, why? He's supposedly not radical. His father supposedly wasn't radical. Well, supposedly
he was on the watch list before.
Yeah. His father was on the watch list.
Was on the watch list, but I thought that his uncle had. Okay, I thought that there was a bombing or something that happened in Jordan or Syria while he was there, and his uncle did it.
I'm saying the way that they're making it sound, like there's no ties to anything radical. Well, now we find out that his uncle was, his father was on the watch list. Are you kidding me? I mean, we've learned absolutely nothing from 9/11.
What the hell difference does it make to Obama or these people if they say the word domestic terrorist or Muslim extremist? It's like, okay, what if we were back in World War II and couldn't describe the Nazis because, well, I mean, they're white people with blonde hair who kind of all have similar names that start with K and Koff or but how the hell are you going to identify the enemy if you're not allowed to actually say who it is?
You can't.
Well,
get it.
He's not. It's not an enemy to him.
Yeah.
Thank you. My opinion. I'm going to give you my opinion right now. I've said it before. I have said this for 6 years now. So it's not. I believe that within 6 to 12 months before his term is up, he will, quote, convert to his father's religion of Islam. And so everyone's saying, well, he's going to Muslim or something. I believe he is, and he will, quote unquote, convert to his father's religion of Islam. He's the only president in the history of our country, pretty much, does not really go to church, and he's the only one who has the background that could start to, quote unquote, go to a Muslim deal.
Well, in Islam, I mean, you're an apostate if you leave.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the term called taqiyya?
No. Yes, I am. Go ahead, Jeremy. You can.
I'm not.
Okay.
Of course not. I didn't know what New England was. The hell, taqiyya?
Basically, taqiyya. So in Islam, it's a sin to lie. However, if you're lying in some way that promotes Islam, so if you're using it to give you an advantageous position, whether it's to kill non-believers or to integrate yourself into the judicial system, whatever it is you're doing to try and advance Islam, then it's an accepted sin. You're allowed to lie.
Yeah, like with just about everything in Sharia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do think that is at play in a lot of cases here.
Yeah,
well, everybody keeps talking about. Okay, this blows freaking, I don't get how stupid people are, okay? How many people are asking and saying, well, I don't understand about Iran and how they're doing the Iran thing and why and why. Hello, Valerie Jarrett is his #1 confidant in that Oval Office is Iranian. Why are people even asking?
Have you guys had a chance to read that?
No. What do you
think?
think?
We, bits and pieces, we're actually bound by the terms of that agreement to defend Iran if anyone attacks.
Wow. The Blaze said today, and I didn't read it yet, but there's more like there was 2 side deals that were part of it, 2 side agreements. Is that one of them?
I'm not sure exactly where that fits in, but I do know that there's portions of the agreement that are actually even classified from Congress.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Well, it's just like the trade bill was classified, and you had to go into a secret locked freaking room.
This is national security we're talking about. This is, dealing with the enemy. This is, I mean, someone had said this can't be true, but then, now we find out, and they were talking about it on Rush, and they were talking about it on Fox and Friends this morning about the Obama released the top Iranian scientist.
Yeah.
Part of the nuke deal.
But they won't release our people?
Oh, yeah, he asked for them the next day or something like that, after the deal is already done. Well, you can't, now you have there's no position, you're not in any position to ask for anything.
Yeah, the spin that they gave on that was they didn't want to include that in the deal because then then Iran would try and use it as a bargaining chip. Well, Iran got everything they wanted, and we got nothing, really.
Okay, I agree. It should not have been a part of the deal. I'm going to say that right up front. You know why?
I do as well, but that's a bullshit answer as to why.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
but
exactly.
you know why it shouldn't have been a part of the deal? Because they should have said, we're not sitting down to do a deal until you release them. Release them, and now we'll talk. Otherwise, we're not even sitting down to do a deal.
I don't even think it should have been
why
that.
We're even sitting? Yeah, why are we sitting down
right.
for a deal anyways? We should that should have never should have been dealing with them anyways.
I cut Jeremy off though for a second. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just going to say we should just send in special operations to snatch them up and then bomb the hell out of the country.
Thank you.
Problem solved.
We should not have been sitting down. I mean, how much more? I don't know. They're calling us. They're calling what we're saying and the truth that we're talking about as sedition and all this kind of crap. And Jeremy, I love your comment on Wesley Clark's, anyone who disagrees with this government should be put in internment camp. You're like, what? I'm like, right? I mean, this is, General Wesley Clark, who's, I mean, yeah, he's got the general next to his name, but he's by no means a combat veteran who has any kind of, I don't know, just don't get me started on this pencil pusher.
Here's the scary part of this, though, okay? Everyone says, okay, Wesley Clark is a loon and blah, 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 blah. He is, but what they've done over the last couple of years is remove all of the top leadership who doesn't agree with Obama and replaced them with a bunch of Wesley Clarks.
Yeah, and that was no accident.
Part.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely by design.
There's a whole bunch of Wesley Clarks in there now. That's the scary part.
Yeah, I mean, for him to be saying that people like the three of us should be put in internment camps because we don't agree with this administration. Really? And Bush was the Nazi? And the Republicans are the Nazis? I mean,
it wouldn't be the first time we've done that.
Well, yeah.
And every time that has happened, it's been under Democratic leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're so tolerant, Jeremy. They're so tolerant and loving, yeah.
Yes.
I still am not convinced that there's going to be election in 2016. I am still not convinced that Obama will not, there will not be, I believe there is going to be some sort of crisis that happens that is going to cause him to have to suspend the elections, and he will continue on until whatever time is needed to take care of it. That's what I think.
I think that's a very real possibility.
Well, the whole Jade Helm thing, I mean, I had some military guys going, oh, we don't don't be overly dramatic. It's just regular, regular training things that the Army goes through every year and blah, 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 blah. And I said, I understand that, but if you people don't think by now that there's not always a duality to what this administration is doing, you got your head in the sand. Everything they do and everything that they try to say is so positive for the rest of us has some dark, hidden agenda that rears its ugly head after the fact. After everything's said and done.
I want to ask Jeremy something specifically about this exact thing here, Jade Helm.
Mm-hmm.
There was sure a hell of a lot of talk and panic and worry leading up to it. It's been going on allegedly now since July 15th. Sure has gotten pretty quiet. No one's talking about it. No one's. What do you think about this whole thing? I mean, you've got friends, and I'm sure you're still in touch with all of this.
Yeah, I really don't think much of it, to be honest with you. I mean, I can tell you that we did a lot of training operations, even out in town, similar to this, maybe not of this scope, but we did things out in town. Civilians didn't know anything about it. It was, it was not like a super secret thing, but it was just something that they just didn't know about until they saw us out there doing whatever it was we were doing. So it's not like it's something that's never happened before. The only things that I think really cause people to be concerned in this case is A, the scope, and B, the administration that it's being run under.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I don't think much of it. For the most part, I think most of our troops would not do something subversive like that, so I'm not too worried about that. Where I would see a problem is maybe a couple years down the road. You look at these troop cuts; they've been doing these massive mm-hmm. dismantling of our military, and in order to do some kind of large-scale martial law kind of thing, they're going to have to purge all of the people who believe in what America is, and they're going to have to get in the people that support that kind of an agenda, and that's going to take years. If that's what they're trying to do, that would take years to even accomplish.
Well, personally, as far as you see that we're well on our way to that. Lowering standards, letting in people who there's no way that American men are just not designed
anymore.
Well, yeah, basically, they're not designed. Our current men, because the boys up and coming don't have a chance in hell. But we're just not wired to have the men look at women as a man and just leave her behind on the. No, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to. If you can't be who you are, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Jeremy. Because like I said, I kind of had this conversation with my guy a few times, and my brother's Marine. There's things that go on in a guy setting, in any guy setting, whether it be just hanging out, watching a football game. When the chicks come in, everything changes, and when you're talking about putting people's lives on the line, everything changes. And
absolutely.
The same with homosexuals or transgenders, or it breaks the cohesiveness of the unit, and I just don't get why people think that that's somehow a bigoted or racist statement, because, first of all, it can't be a race if you're, it's gay or, or female, but that's besides the point. But that's what they call us, as racist. I'm like, okay, it doesn't even make sense. But anyways, with the military, I agree with you 1,000%. I say it every time. I do have faith in our military. I do have faith that majority of them will absolutely uphold their oath to the Constitution and to, against all enemies, domestic and foreign and domestic. But something like this Jade Helm, because the one thing that I did take away from the whole Jade Helm thing was that it is in preparation for a full-scale attack from Mexico. And that they had needed a way to get mass amounts of people away from that border very quickly, and in a in like a militarized fashion.
Right. What you're talking about is called a NEO, a non-combative evacuation operation.
Okay.
That is certainly plausible. So I guess along those lines, it would make sense if so. The majority of Jade Helm was special operations oriented, so they would be doing reconnaissance and maybe marking out paths and things like that. It's an interesting concept. I hadn't really thought about that, but that does make sense.
So I'm not necessarily saying that the whole Jade Helm thing in this administration is a bad thing for as far as our military taking us to internment camps and things like that.
But that there's something going on.
Something's going on. They know something's going on. They know something's coming, and they need to prepare now for this mass evacuation, whether it's dirty bombs, whether it's a full-scale attack from, radical Islam, who knows? I mean, you got 1 million people coming across the border. I'm sorry, our border patrol can't even handle the few thousand that come across every month. Never mind, setting up camp, because we all know they've been setting up camp in South America. We all know that they're along the Mexican border. I mean, the prayer mats have been found left and right. The radical, all the paperwork and all of that stuff has been found left and right out in the desert. There's places that we can't even go. It's no-go zones on our own border.
Well, I know why Jade Helm.
Something is just not right.
I know why they stayed away from Oregon and Washington in their training is because that earthquake thing that we were just talking about, and I may not be here next week, so.
They're expected to be, to fly off the crack off the end of the West Coast.
Hey, did you see? Well, actually, I live about 5 miles or 6 miles east of I-5, so I'm okay because they said that everything west of I-5 is going to be will be oceanfront property here. But supposedly, now I don't know if they can predict earthquakes. They can't, but they're saying that like within a couple of days, San Francisco could have a massive one. Did you guys read that?
I caught a bit of it on the. I didn't read the article. I just caught the headlines.
Yeah, kind of interesting. I mean, who knows what they know anymore?
Yeah, I mean, we're giving the wrong information to our enemies, and then, I just feel like they're holding back stuff that we actually should know about, It's almost like that movie, The Deep Impact, No one knew. They were preparing for years. Every time I hear one of these top-level people say, he just took time, he's taking time off to be with his family, I'm like, Deep Impact, something's happening.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more going on in that sort of scenario than you ever probably would want to know.
Yeah, I mean, none of us would sleep at night, so I don't want to know, but I also, something like, when I see something like Jade Helm, I don't know, something just tells me that if they're preparing for something something that has to shut down whole entire mega Walmarts and making miles of tunnels underneath these places that connect, and that's just not just regular operations.
Right, I don't know if that was true. Like, I know there were some Walmarts that were shut down, but I don't know, like, the tunnel story, I don't know if there's any truth to that. There was really a lot of stuff that was kind of out there. I don't know how much of it was true.
I know, well, this, supposedly they had some eyewitnesses, but then all of a sudden, it's off the face of the earth, you know what I mean? Like, they're just gone. Those people are, you don't hear from them again. So, I don't know, is that good or is that bad? Were they proven to be liars, or were they just shut up? I don't know. There was one guy who was interesting. He had to set up a camera, and he was on. He's like, who are these people in my house? I left for work, and my cameras are on, and they showed, like, I don't know, in his particular area, if it was the sheriff's department up here, they're nothing. You see them, and they just serve warrants and transport people back and forth to the jail. They don't stop you. They don't arrest you. They don't do anything. So I don't know if it's sheriffs. I know Texas and California and Oregon, all the sheriff department is like any other law enforcement officers, but not here. So I don't know what department it was, but he did have people coming into his house, and he's like, what are they doing in my house? What are they doing? I have these, he's showing these videos, and he was crying all about Jade Helm and how they had been, he found them near the tunnels and all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, I don't know, I don't know what the truth is. I kind of was afraid to find out from that guy, because he's either really loony or they're making him out to, seem like a loon, and he actually has videotapes of people rifling through his bedroom and, going through his drawers and stuff in uniform. So I don't know. Kind of interesting. So yeah,
Just
there's a whole bunch
never
of things
know
you just
anymore.
don't know. Yeah, you just don't know.
It's like
I don't trust this administration in any way, shape, or form. I trust my military, with my life, obviously, but I know it's going to hurt a lot until we get to a point where we can actually have a righteous victory.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been awesome having you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great talking to you, Jeremy. I'm glad we could finally connect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my pleasure.
So if
now, why don't you plug your website though? You have a Facebook
Yeah.
page that you, as a public figure, that you.
Yeah, you know what is the? If you just search for Jeremy Knauff in Facebook, it should come right up.
and I'll post it on our the Blast page.
Okay, perfect.
I posted it the other day, and I'll post it again.
Yeah, we
there.
did post it.
So what's
So,
what's your business on there? It shows you do some sort of marketing business, or
Yeah, we run a web marketing firm. So small to medium sized business type of clients.
we're small. We want to get medium, and then we want to get big. So sure and tell who's on CNN, or Fox News, Megyn Kelly. Just tell her, say, hey, there's this guy out in Gresham. He had a crush on you.
He's got a crush on you, and he really, really, really wants you to come on his show. I'm just kidding. I was pulling up that website. One second. Yeah. So on Facebook, it's under Spartan Media, and right, is it under Spartan Media?
Yes, but let me just double check. Should just be Spartan Media Inc. I think is the one for that one, and then the public figure page is JL Knauff.
Yeah, we'll post those links to people. So I noticed you had like 700 new friend requests.
I think it's more than that. I don't know. Every time I open it up, I'm trying to reply to everybody individually, and that's not really feasible so far. I've added at least 900, 1,000, somewhere in that range.
Wow. We had I think it was a couple of days before Christmas. We had Chris Peranto on the show, and his book, the book 13 Hours in Benghazi, had just come out, and all of a sudden, then it's like everything blew up, and he was just like all over the country, and ended up with two different Facebook pages with tens of thousands of people. This stuff is just grassroots, then all of a sudden, boom, it just blows up. And speaking of blowing up, that's a movie I can't wait to go see when it comes out in January. 13 Hours in Benghazi.
I just pulled that up here. I actually hadn't heard of this before.
The book? No.
13 Hours in Benghazi.
Yeah.
Chris is one of the surviving contractors from the Benghazi.
The night that Ambassador Stevens was murdered, he was there.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was.
That looks good.
Yeah, that movie's it's in production. When is it supposed to come out?
It's wrapped now, and the release date is middle of January.
Cool.
And who's the director of that again? It was Michael.
Michael Bay.
Yeah, Michael Bay, big time.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be really awesome. And I swear, okay, if you've never, then obviously you've never read the book, 13 Hours in Benghazi.
No.
That is a book to download on your phone, your iPad, or whatever. It takes you about a day and a half, 2 days to read it, 3 days to read it. It is freaking awesome. It's the three 3 guys, operators who were there, giving their detailed account, and every single thing that you see going on in Congress with Hillary and all those people,
Mhm.
flat out lies. I mean, bold lies compared to what he's talking about.
Yeah, they've been traveling. The 3 of the survivors have been traveling around doing.
So, Jeremy, it's like, okay, so we were talking earlier about the Marine facilities that right here, not just the Marine facilities, okay, in Chattanooga where they got shut up, but all bases, everybody, as I understand it, you cannot carry a weapon unless you're an MP, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In freaking Benghazi, Libya, at their mission and at the house there, they weren't even allowed technically to have weapons there that weren't locked up. And so Chris and some of his buddies said, F that. He goes, we had our weapons right next to our bed. And he goes, and we were not allowed to. But F them, we did anyways.
Yeah,
and
that's
locked up.
Sure. That's how we do it. I mean, when we went on our deployment on our med float, I can tell you there was a lot of times that guys had ammo. We were supposed to be, if we were in a place where for whatever reason we didn't have ammo, there were people that had ammo. There were people that had, everything was loaded. I brought plenty of my own stuff, and there was times when we were in a place where we didn't think it was particularly super safe, and we would just have our own stuff. I know that a lot of guys, there was a couple of people at least I knew that would actually get weapons out of the armory and take them out on Libo. So.
Well, that's what happened with the Iranian crisis there.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was locked up. The Marines didn't have their weapons. Everything was locked up in the armory.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, the military, I mean, you can have stupid orders like that where you're not supposed to be allowed to have weapons, but the folks at the bottom who are, on the ground doing the job, they're going to do what they have to do to take care of themselves.
Right. Well, thank God they do, because some of the rules of engagement are absolutely asinine.
I agree 100%.
And I don't think that the average American actually knows any of this. I don't think they're even aware of it.
They don't.
They don't have a clue.
Like my guy says, America's at the mall. Really, it's like.
But they can damn sure tell you what the Kardashians are doing.
You know what I'm saying? Even I just had someone who looked at me like I had 7 heads when I said something about radical Islam is here. People are being beheaded in America, and he's like, "What are you talking about? Oh, that's crazy talk." And I'm like, "Oh God, okay, all right. You don't have to open the links. You don't have to look at the stories, but I am going to send you what I'm talking about." I have no idea. He never came back to me and told me that he read them or not. But he can't say that I didn't provide him with the links.
I'll guarantee you that if he did look at them, you'll never hear from him again because he doesn't want to admit that he was wrong.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like everyone's to bury their head in the sand. I'm like, I don't want to have to think this every day. I don't have to report this every day. I don't want to have to talk about it every day. But someone has to, because people are not. I mean, you can't bury your head in the sand. I mean, I would rather be cautious and not trust anyone and be safe than the idiot that's going to walk out with a plate of brownies as the Ahmed and Abdullah come walking up to him and then do the Hassan chop on their head, and the plate of brownies falls to the ground. It's not going to be me, I mean, I'm going to save the last bullet for myself, basically. I'm sure you've heard that a million times, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
It's just I'd rather be safe than sorry. So if that just means that I don't ever have a Muslim friend who happens to wear a hijab and a beard down to his belly button, so be it. I'm good with my dogs and my warriors.
There you go. I'm sure everything will work out just fine for you without it.
Jeremy brought up something earlier real quick about the tequila. Tequila. That's how I'm going to remember it. It's tequila, because when you take tequila, you just can't lie. But if you don't take tequila, you're going to lie all the time. I don't know. No. So I'm at the mall, And okay, first of all, so I'm at the mall here a couple months ago, and they got kiosks all down the mall for anything you'd ever want, you know, curl your hair or whatever they got.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's one of them, they make shirts, and I wanted to have the Blast shirt made. So I have my hat made, the Blast. I'll turn my head there. And I had a shirt made, the Blast. And the kiosk was run by 2 or 3 Islamic-looking guys, Arab-looking guys or something, right? And first of all, I thought to myself, wow, how we've always known that one of the best ways that these guys could hurt our economy is strap on and go into about 5 or 6 or 8 different malls around the country, set them all off at the same time, blow up our malls. People would be freaked out. They wouldn't go shopping, blah, blah, blah. But here's a guy in a kiosk, and I said, well, do you have a large shirt? Oh, no, we're out of them. But he opens up this thing, and he starts looking all through them. He said, I'll bring them in tomorrow. These guys don't get checked. They could bring bombs in or whatever in all of their inventory at the kiosks in all these malls, put them in the box, in the kiosk, walk away, hit the button, and blow the snot out of all these places. That was one theory.
Give him some idea. Give him some ideas now, Jim.
Well, then...
Kidding. Yeah.
Well, I figured, you know, so then, I mean, if ISIS already knows how they're strapping bombs on chickens now and setting the chickens off in the cities, and then they blow them up, I mean, that's kind of, you know. So anyways, I got talking to this guy, and I said, so let me ask you, where are you from? What's the deal? I said, are you Saudi Arabia, Pakistani, what? He goes, no, I'm from Egypt. And I said, oh, Morsi, right? He goes, no, bad. That's a bad guy. He goes, what's his name? The new guy, ISIS or whatever, the general. They like this. They like the new guy, but they didn't like the Muslim Brotherhood. So I asked him. I said, so let me ask you about this ISIS and all this stuff. And he goes, don't call him ISIS. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you got a web show, because I was telling him about it. He goes, on your web show, call them Daesh, and you'll be the only one calling them Daesh. And I said, what? Why? What's the deal? He goes, because when you call them ISIS or ISIL, you're giving them credit. You're telling them that they actually have a state. He goes, but when you call them Daesh, it's like they're fake, like they're not the real people, and you're telling them that you don't respect them. And kind of like when Saddam Hussein, George Bush always said his name a particular way, and it was because it was disrespectful.
Saddam.
Yeah, or when you throw a shoe at somebody in Islam, it's like
That's
whatever.
Yeah.
So he said, we call them Daesh. He goes, not ISIL. He goes, because we don't respect them. I'm like, but this guy was Islamic. He's trying to tell me that.
Are you sure he was Islamic, or was he a Christian?
No, he's Muslim, because he was telling me, okay, I said, well, we're going to see this movie right now called, I forget the name of it. It's a Christian movie at the mall. God's Not Dead or something like that. I'm telling him about this. And I said, so how do you guys think about Jesus? What's the oh, we believe in Jesus for sure. And Jesus is going to come back again. He goes, he didn't actually die. He took over and went into another person's body. And then he rose straight to heaven. He never died. But when he comes back again, Jesus is going to reveal the truth and lead everybody to Islam. That's what he believes.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. But isn't that interesting? He believed in Jesus, and that Jesus was persecuted and rose to heaven. And he's coming back again. But he believes he's going to come back again to reveal the truth to everybody, to convert them to Islam. And then if they don't convert to Islam, they will die.
They'll get the Hassan chop.
Yeah. I'm like, I didn't know that stuff about Islam.
Who really knows? I mean, who really knows? You hear so many different things, and oh, yes, it's good, no, it's bad, it's this, it's that, the other thing. All I know is the proof is in the pudding. They're killing us. And as a major portion of the world is now Islamic, they're not raising up and getting rid of the bad guys. So, you know, until you're going to stand up and get rid of the bad guys, you're kind of complicit. So I'm sorry
Hey,
to say.
if only 10% of them are bad, that's about 100 million.
Sounds like we kind of circled back around to one of our earlier points, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, really, it's just I'd rather be safe than sorry. So.
Yeah. So before we go, though, Jeremy, when your thoughts on what you started with this paper that you wrote, this piece that came directly right from your heart, and from your heart and the passion and of all of the emotions that welled up in you, and you just let it out after this situation happened. Is there anything else before we go that you want to get off your chest or say, or like your any goals or thoughts that you'd like to move forward with?
Yeah, one of the things that I guess it kind of presented an opportunity is an opportunity to help out a lot of the vets again, which is something I was trying to do prior anyway, and it just kind of gave me a little more of a platform to do that now. So that's something that if your listeners are wanting to do something to help out vets, which obviously the government's not doing that, not taking care of them. Find a local organization to partner up with, whether it's donating money or time or whatever, and do something in that regard, because these people are out there putting their lives on the line, and then they come back here and they're basically left with no options.
Nothing, yeah.
So,
do you believe the suicide numbers?
22 a day. Yeah.
Do you believe that?
I do.
God, that's a lot. Yeah,
we just lost one of the best NCOs I ever served with last year to suicide.
That is a national epidemic.
It is. It's disgusting. And the government's not doing much of anything about it. Most Americans don't even have a clue that it's going on. And then take that a step further, and you've got these vets who, they're treated like there's something wrong with them when they need to seek help. So they're really kind of left with no options. So
one of my
and then if they come back and they don't want to talk about it, because a lot of men, are very good at compartmentalizing. I never say that word right. And you're trying to rip off the scabs and open up old wounds and things like that. That shouldn't be open. You're almost looked at like there's something wrong with you, that you're not spewing everything and crying on my shoulder and all this kind of stuff, and it's not how many of the real warriors would ever deal with.
I don't want. Right. I hope I don't say this wrong, and I please, if this is going to come out wrong, then just tell me, Jim, that came out wrong. But I'm really, one of my pet peeves is Wounded Warriors Project. Mm-hmm. I'm so here's the delicate part. I'm so against it, and I hate it for one reason.
What's that?
The government should be doing this, not regular citizens having to do it. That's the only thing. I mean, God bless the Wounded Warriors Project and everyone who's involved. God bless them. But it makes me angry that our number one priority, if we send people into harm's way, is not finishing the job and caring for these guys for the rest of their life. And we as a nation, when we talk about the government, we're talking about each one of us. When someone pays for something, nothing is free. It comes out of our pocket. There's not a man, woman, or child alive who pays taxes that would not believe we should be paying and taking care of for these people. That makes me angry that we're leaving them high and dry, forcing civilians to take care of them.
Right. Meanwhile,
God bless the people that are.
Meanwhile, the military is spending billions of dollars on jets that the military doesn't even want.
Right.
Yeah. So. Right. And then trying to discontinue like the A-10, which they very much do want.
Yeah.
Nothing like war dog, baby.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna take us out with the way that we always go out. So don't hang up yet, Jeremy. When I take this out and end the show, we'll still be on for a second, and we could say goodbye to each other. But I always take us out with Willie Nelson.
And tomorrow starts the same old thing.
You ever watch Monday Night Football as a kid?
No, I'm not really a sports guy.
Back in the day, Dandy Don Meredith and Howard Cosell, and Monday Night Football would always end. Turn out the lights. The party's over. Dandy Don Meredith. So that's how we always take out the show.
Right.
The end. All right, so I'm going to wave goodbye. No, you can't wave goodbye because nobody will see it, but that's it. We're
Thank you, Jeremy.
done.